Look at this map. The Carta Marina from Olaus Magnus in 1593 is completely full of monsters. Serpents, massive whales with boar-like heads, water horses fighting scorpions, and whatever this is. For centuries, the edges of our maps weren't just empty spaces. They were canvases for our wildest imaginations. But why did mapmakers do this, and why did they stop? There's a few different reasons. First, not all of them are actually fantasy creatures. Many represent real animals that sailors had encountered, just reimagined. See this creature at the top edge? It's actually a walrus. And over here we have a humpback whale and orcas. They look a bit strange, but if we look at their labels, that's what they translate to. Check out this detail on the left side. It's a narwhal, though it looks like a unicorn. It's a fine line between the imaginary and real world. In some sense, these maps were attempts to document real life through the lens of limited observation and centuries of storytelling. Dory Klein from the Norman B. Leventhal Map Center puts it perfectly. In the medieval Renaissance period in Europe, people really didn't know what was out there. So your corpus of knowledge came from folklore and the Bible. And so, in that world, monsters could very well be real. Now take a look at this creature, the one where people are making a fire on its back. This isn't random geography. It's the famous whale mistaken for an island motif that appears throughout medieval geographical myths. This image actually had deep cultural significance. The whale that seems like solid ground but then sinks was a powerful symbol of worldly temptation, something that looks safe but ultimately leads to destruction. Here's another map, this one from Abraham Ortelius from the year 1570. Over here, it depicts Jonah being cast overboard by a sea monster. These biblical references were woven right into cartography. But there's more to these creatures than just religious symbolism. Renaissance mapmakers were heavily influenced by classical authorities like Pliny the Elder, who proposed that every land animal had a counterpart in the ocean. This idea explains some of the stranger creatures. Take a look at this sea pig from Olaus Magnus's map that we saw before. According to classical theory, if pigs exist on land, then sea pigs must exist in the ocean. There's also another element to all this. The violence that we see on these maps is striking. Here's a map from around 1640. Notice how it shows a massive creature attacking a ship. This kind of scene appears repeatedly across different maps. Here's another from Diego Gutierrez in 1562. Multiple monsters converging onto a vessel that seems hopelessly outmatched. These violent scenes weren't just added as dramatic decoration. They conveyed crucial warnings about the dangers of ocean travel. There's also another crucial point here. Contrary to what most people believe, these decorative maps weren't typically used in sea navigation by sailors. Chet Van Duzer, author of Sea Monsters on Medieval and Renaissance Maps, points out that if the client commissioning the chart didn't pay for sea monsters, he or she did not receive them. For example, look at this chart by Matthäus Prunes from 1559. It shows kings, elephants, camels, but no sea monsters. These more practical navigational charts focused on coastlines and compass directions. The monster-filled maps were commissioned by wealthy nobles and displayed as conversation pieces and status symbols. They demonstrated the owner's worldliness and intellectual curiosity. Going back to the Carta Marina, we can actually see that its geography is super inaccurate. It shows Iceland at 89 degrees north, far from its actual position at 66 degrees. This likely wouldn't be a map you'd actually use to sail. It was more like a visual encyclopedia of Northern European culture. By the late 17th century, sea monsters began to disappear from maps. The scientific revolution was transforming European understanding of the natural world. The printing press allowed for wider circulation of realistic images based on actual observation. As Van Duzer explains, as technology advanced, as our understanding of the oceans and navigation advanced, more emphasis was placed on humans' ability to master the watery element. The sea wasn't just a dangerous place anymore, it was becoming a resource to exploit. Decorative elements haven't completely disappeared from maps, they're just a lot less common. Take a look at this 1929 pictorial map of Los Angeles. The creatures are still there, they're just clearly understood as decorative elements rather than attempts at documenting the unknown. Maps today are utilitarian tools on our phones and computers. Precise, practical, and typically monster-free. Maybe we're drawn to these old illustrated maps because they take us back to a point when the world was full of mystery and wonder. So if you think that Google Maps should start putting monsters on Google Street View, comment down below and thank you for watching.